Hi, my name is Faisal Farid, and thank you so much, DynamicsCon, for giving me this opportunity and selecting me. And I would like to special thanks to my voters who have actually chosen me and vote for my sessions. So let's get started. A very brief introduction about myself. My name is Faisal Farid, and I am a Dynamic 365 Finance and Operations Technical Lead at DXC Technology. I live in Melbourne, Australia. In today's talk, it would be about the power of dual right. I've been talking about dual right since quite a long time. This time, I would like to share my experience throughout the whole world through DynamicsCon. Here we have the today's agenda. So we will talk about the data integrator first. We know the dual right is in the market, but the data integrator has been there and still has been used. So I would like to I would like to compare between dual right and data integrator first to start with. Then why do we need the dual right? Then we dig into the what is dual right actually, why everyone is running behind the dual right for the real-time integration. We will dig into the overview and architecture about the dual right from FNO point of view and from a CE point of view. Then I'll quickly give a small demo how the things looks like, and then we will talk about the implementation considerations. With this, I would like to apologize first. So because I'll be using most of the acronyms during my presentation, so I thought it would be good idea for all the users to understand what acronyms I'm going to use throughout my whole presentation today. So I'll be using all these words in replacement of each other. I would say Dynamic 365 Finance and Operations, it would be FNO 365, FNO FinOps, and Dynamic 365 for sales, customer engagement, CE sales, CRM, Dynamic 365 for sales, common data services, CDS, CDS-A, and CDS-T, data integrator, DI, dual right, DW, and out of the box, which is OTB. So please keep these acronyms in the mind throughout my whole presentation. As I said, I would like to start first with data integrator. As you can see onto the left side of the picture here, we have the common data services, which has all the apps from Microsoft Dynamics 365 for customer engagement. Onto the right hand side, we have all the apps from finance and operations. These two different instances, different apps. Now, how do we want to integrate so they can talk to each other? Microsoft introduced data integrator at the start, and it actually lives between finance and operation and customer engagement. It has their own database, but it's a one-way integration. So if you want to understand more about the data integrator, there is a documentation at the bottom you can read more about from Microsoft Docs article. Let's quickly jump into more about the data integrator. Just a brief overview about what is data integrator. Do we still need to use, or can we still use data integrator? The answer would be yes, we can still use it. It depends on to your business requirements and business processes. As we have seen on the left hand side of the picture here, we have the common data services, and on the right hand side, we have the Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations app sitting on the right. Data integrator still sitting on in the middle. Onto the left hand side of the picture, you can see I have make a small rectangle which is actually pointing towards common data services. This is a CE solution for prospect and cache and fields services. So there are two solutions which we have to install in order to configure data integrator for finance and operations and customer engagement integration. So these two solutions have to be installed into the CE environment. These two solutions are available into Microsoft App Source. Then what we have to do, we have to create all the connections ourselves. These all connections have to be done in Power Platforms. So what these are the different screens. because today's talk is not focused onto the data integrator, so I just put some screenshots directly here about the connections and connection sets projects. So these are all the manual steps which we have to perform into data integrator. So these are the steps which we are following: creating a connections first, then we are creating a connection sets first, where you have to choose your environments, and then you will be creating your new projects here. There are 4 steps involved in project creation, and all steps these have to be manual, and only the power apps power platform admin user can perform all these steps. This is the reason onto the right screen here you see here, this is called admin center. That's the reason the only the admin user can use, can configure all these templates and projects into the power platform. The third step would be continuation of choosing a out of the box project template here. As you can see, these are the templates. These are the out of the box templates which comes as part of the CE solution. When you install the CE solution, either prospect to cash or field services, it depends on your requirement. These templates come as part of the solution here. Then in continuation of this process here, the last step would be you just create all the projects, choose the connection, choose the right connection set, and choose your template. You can customize your template, but you can also use out of the box templates. You can definitely use your own templates too, but eventually you will be using templates to create a projects here, and that would be it. Now this is the technology which is called dual write. I came up with the new design here. It's not the redesigning of the logo which Microsoft has provided. It's just for my website and also for my presentation today. So it looks nice to me for the dual write. Now let's dig into the dual write. Why do we need dual write? The second part of my agenda was the why do we need the dual write? To start with, as we have seen many steps into my previous slide, data integrator is a manual and schedule based. So you have to perform all your steps manually, and after once you are done, you can schedule it. As you can see onto the right side of the picture here, you can only schedule it. It is not the real time. It is not like this you create a one record in finance and operation, it goes directly into finance into CDS, sorry. It actually takes few seconds, few minutes. It depends on to the frequency you have set up here. Another uh, limitation of data integrator is a one directional. It always work from finance and operation to CDS. You cannot move data from CDS to finance and operations. It is a one directional thing. So these are the limitations about the data integrator. And now we need to understand what is dual write. So this is the same picture which we have seen for the data integrator here. As we have seen at the first part, the data integrator was introduced as the middleware between finance and operations and finance and operations and customer engagements. Now we have a direct link between both finance and operations and common data services. So there is no in middleware sitting in between both the systems like we used to have for the data integrator. It's a This is why it's called tightly coupled. There is no in middleware between finance and operations and customer engagement. All the data, whatever you create, read, update, and delete in any of the applications, it syncs across the other application. For example, if you create a customer in FNO, then it will automatically move to the as an account in CE of type customer. It's a near real time. It's a brief introduction about the dual write here. It's a near real time. It is bi-directional, as you can see onto the picture here. Whatever the data gets created in finance and operation, it will pass to the CE, and whatever the data gets created into CE, it will be created to FNO. What are the data type you can move across the environments? It can be of any type. When I say any type, it says you can use your master data, you can use your reference data, you can use your business documents. So master data is always, it's the customers, all the vendors. And if you want to see the reference data, you can say sales tax groups, project groups, customer groups, vendor groups, and then business documents. You will have projects, purchase orders, sales orders, uh, and so on. So there are 120 or 125, don't quote me on to the count, but there are these number of entities out of the box available for the dual write. Microsoft still working on to adding more and more data entities to for the dual write. Last benefit of having the dual write is you will have your FNO data directly or natively available into CDS. And you can think of, if you are a Power Platform user or you are a Power Platform lover, you can think of, once you will have the Microsoft ERP, the biggest ERP right now. If you can have all the data from your ERP into the CDS, you can use Power Platform to perform all the other things whatever you want to on top of finance and operations data. You can use Power BI, you can use flows, you can use Power Automates, you can use Power Virtual Agents, you can use any feature which is coming or which already exists for the Power Platform. So this is the biggest benefit of having the dual write here. Now let's quickly look into the little example here. What we have here onto the left side of the picture, we have a dynamic 365 finance and operations environment here. This is a UI. These you can consider as a customer here. These are the two customers sitting into the finance and operations. This is the FNO database. I have two separate customers sitting into the Power Apps on CDS, means these are the two different accounts sitting into the CE environment. But I have used Power Apps to visualize those two accounts into my Power App. But eventually these two accounts are sitting into the CDS transactional database here. As part of the finance and operations, we got a very powerful feature called embedded Power Apps within finance and operations. What it does, you can create any Power Apps, and then you can actually embed that Power App directly into finance and operations screens. But this screen definitely directly calling data or calling a call to the CDS database here. As you can clearly see here, these two customers in FNO and these two accounts, these are not synced here. If I am the finance and operation user and I log into my environment and I see these two accounts and these two customer and these two accounts sitting over into my environment, I may get confused. I'll say there might be some data inconsistencies. I don't see these two Fabricam and Litware into my finance and operation database from where these data is coming. So then Microsoft introduced a dual write. What happens here, as you can see, this is the FNO database and the CDS. So it's talks directly to the finance and operations and CDS. So there is no middleware. It directly talks and sync data across both the environments. Now, by having this dual write, as you can see, all the Fabricam and Litware, these were the accounts sitting into the Power app here. Now I can see these ones in here. Also, all my finance and operations customers, which is Alpine and Contoso, I can see into my Power Apps, embedded Power Apps, and I can see these one into my Power Apps on CDS onto the right side of the picture here. So that is the benefit of having the dual write. All the data across all the applications, across all the platforms is sync. So you can see all the data is sitting into finance and operation. You can see the same data is sitting into the Power Apps on CDS. Power Apps is just an example, it's just an app on top of CDS. You can use any app. You can use Power BI later on to visualize or use this data. Another benefit of having this dual write, you will have your FNO database, FNO data natively available into CDS. And that is again yet a biggest advantage of having the dual write. So every platform has its own architecture behind it. So if we talk about this one here onto the left hand side quickly, this is the common data services architecture. In CE environment, we also have the concept entities. In FNO, we have a concept of entity too. In we have a create, update, delete operations here. We also have the create, update, delete operations into FNO side. Now, the only difference between customer engagement and finance and operation is they have customer engagement has their business logics and validations, and it actually triggers through plugins. So we have plugins installed, and we write plugins with customer engagement to trigger data, whereas in finance and operations we write event handlers. So this could be any post or pre-event handlers or any type of event handlers. uh, Once these event handler triggers and these plugins trigger, both side of the application, they use mappings. Where these mappings came from, these mappings we will define as part of the dual write, which I'll show you in shortly. But this will not be a hard coded data. It will be using all the mappings. And from FNO side, from CDS side, we all have mappings defined. Once we have data sitting over here, you can see O data here, and this is O data here. This is a little icon. This is just a file or a data you can think of, and this is going across to the environments using all the mappings. And then a commit happen, and then a commit happen from FNO side, from also from the CE side. This commit is actually marking the transaction complete. So dual write does work onto the transaction level. So when I say the transaction level, this is the database transaction. So you start your transaction, you create an account, and the moment you just save the record means you are committing the changes now. The moment you saved it, it will trigger the commit from either part of the application and then send data across. And that is the end of the one transaction. Most of the people think like dual write is just a service. Dual write is not just a service. Dual write has two aspects. One is called infrastructure aspect and one is called application aspect. Infrastructure aspect, you can think of, it provides you the complete infrastructure, complete tool where you can create your mappings, you can add or remove fields, you can define your custom entity mappings, you can define alerts, you can define your initial sync data here, you can start and play all the entity mappings here. I'll show you all the screens in a shortly, but these are called the infrastructure capabilities of dual write. This is completely extensible. You can create your own custom data entities, you can add your fields, you can add your field types, you can transform data from one application to another application. This is the tool. So you can think of it's a small tool which can be used to transform data from any application, from FNO to CE and CE to FNO. So this provides you a robust infrastructure. Application part or aspect of the dual write is, you can think of the features. What are the features or available from the finance and operations side and customer engagement side. The most hot topic nowadays, or the latest feature which Microsoft is working on having the party concept in customer engagement. Everyone knows in finance and operations we have a party concept. It's a global address book, and then you can associate customer account, contact, and so on with party concept. In customer engagement, we do not have a concept of a party. Now, another example is in finance and operations, we also have a concept of legal entities or companies. In customer engagement, we do not have a concept of legal entities or companies. But as part of the dual write, Microsoft has introduced a couple of new features into the customer engagement and finance and operations. So you can think of these features as application changes. Now we understand what is dual write, what are the aspects. Now if you want to uh, configure the dual write, you have to meet certain requirements. So application version from finance and operations side, it has to be into this particular version 10.0.9, and it has to be a platform update at least 33. From customer engagement side, it has to be a model driven application platform version, this number or later. Every application has its own limitations. This is why the technology is evolving day by day and the new features are coming. So currently dual write does have limitations. One of the limitations is you cannot have dual write installed along with a prospect to cache solution, which is used for data integrator. You cannot have both solutions installed at the same time. If you want to install the data integrator dual write, you have to uninstall this solution for the data integrator. Data integrator is only, sorry, dual write setup between finance and operations and customer engagement. It cannot be from trial instances, means you cannot link two finance and operations instances with one customer engagement or vice versa. Dual write also doesn't support cross-company data sharing. Cross-company data sharing, if you are finance and operations person, if you are not, the cross-company data sharing is you share all your accounts when I would say vendors or customer, for example, between different companies into finance and operations, so that they share data across different legal entities. So this is not yet supported by dual write. Now we are talking about setting up the dual write. Recently, Microsoft has introduced a very cool feature about setting up dual write through LCS. So whenever you are provisioning a new environment from finance and operations, going forward, you will see a common data services tab sitting over here. If you choose these two options here, it will create a new instance for customer engagement for you, and it will link your finance and operation environment which you are creating with your CE environment automatically. And not only this, it will also install the dual write core solution and dual write orchestration solution to your environments and link the environments, and you are just, after that you will be ready to go. So it will be a very quick process, quick way if you don't want to get into a troubles of configuring your environment yourself. It does require a little bit time at the start to configure your environment, which I'm just going to show into my few next slides. But if you want to quickly link the environments, your best bet is just create the new environment through finance through LCS and or follow these steps. All these steps are very well documented over here, and you can also follow my blog. I have been writing all the steps in detail, what is required, and along with all the questions which have been asked to me in my different sessions. You can follow my blog there. Then couple of highlighted points here. There are few steps more involved which are more detailed described here into this block, but couple of highlighted points. You have to add application IDs in both part of the instances, finance and operation and CDS. You have to consent the LCS app here, and then you have to install the dual write core solutions and dual write orchestration solution for into customer engagement. These are the two solutions which you can see onto the right hand side. These are two solutions you have to install from your Power Apps. These are available into your app source, and it's very easy to install. And this is the way you can go to resources, and under Dynamics 365 apps, you choose dual write solution and install into any environment. Once you are done with this one, If you go back to your finance and operations, you will see this icon over here, the dual right. So you will see the dual right here. Once you click onto the dual right, the first screen will pop up. It will like this: new link to environment. You choose your common data services environment here. This way it is going to read all the environments where your user has access to. So it is very important step. Whoever the user is actually configuring this particular environment right now, later on he or she only will be able to add the more entity maps here. So I'll show you in a short what does it mean here, but let's continue with the environments first. Here you choose your environment here. As you can see, I have chosen my environment. You can search your environment using this little icon over here. Then you have to choose your legal entity from finance and operations here. You click next. Then it automatically check all the prerequisites have to be installed from in finance and operations and also in customer engagements. So these are the prerequisites, and all these steps, as I mentioned earlier, are very well documented in Microsoft Docs article, so please do refer those. And also you can follow my blog. If you hit next here, it provides you a complete summary. This will be your finance and operations environment here, and this will be your CDS environment here. This is the legal entity you have chosen, and these are the check results, which were the health check. 10 out of 10, that's passed. Then let's create the environment. The moment you create the environment, it does take a little bit, and then you will see this screen will come up here. It has all the entity mappings here. You choose your like I have chosen here asset management asset type just for an example. Here you choose one of the entity maps here. The moment you choose, you can say what is my entity map version. Entity map version is a concept you can create. You can, if you want to customize this one, you want to add or remove the out of the box entity map, the moment you change anything, it will give you an option to choose, okay, you what publisher you want to select and where do you want to save it. The moment you will save it, it will create a new version. So later on you can switch between different versions into your entity maps here. Then we have the entity mappings here. This is how it looks like, all the entity mappings here. As you can see, these are all the finance and operations entity fields which are added into this asset management asset type entity from finance and operations. These are all the entity mappings fields from common data services from this asset maintenance asset type. There are a couple of options. Say you can actually remove and you can delete out of the box entity mappings. If you want to add, you can add mappings from here. And once the moment you will save this one, save as, you will save as this one, it will ask you to what version you want to save this to. We have our activity logs. So at the next tab here, you can see and you can control all the activity logs, what has happened and what data went through. With the initial sync, you can see if we do the initial sync. So what does it mean, initial sync here? It means all the data from any part of the application. Like I want to copy all my customer groups from finance and operations to customer engagement. So I will just choose that entity mappings and I will run the process and I will choose, okay, I want to do the initial sync. So it will copy all my data from finance and operations to CTS. You can also see all your error logs here. Whatever the errors it may have caught here, these are the errors. You can check all the errors from here, and these are the details here. As you can see, these are all the infrastructure aspect of the dual right. So this is the way, this is just a tool. It is providing you all the features and facilities to use all the entity mappings. You can define all your out of the box mappings, custom mappings. You can do whatever you want to in order to sync from one application to another applications. So these are the infrastructure features of the dual write. Let's move forward and see how we are going to add the entity mappings into the finance and into the dual write. You choose add entity mapping here, and then you choose your entity from finance and operations environment, and then you choose your entity from CDS environment, and this is where you are going to choose your publisher. I always recommend to create your own publisher into the customer engagement environment. This is the way you create your own publisher here. You choose your new solution and you choose your publisher here. So this will be consider this as a part of the implementation. You can right click and you can create your new publisher within a customer engagement environment. So whatever the publisher you will be creating, you can just choose that publisher here. It will really help you to group all your entity mappings with your publisher, and later you can just export this solution from Power Platform and then import into any other environment, which is an ALM, application lifecycle management facility of the dual write, which I'll show you shortly here. Then let's move forward. This is another feature about the transformation. Let's say if we have different type of data between the environments, like in finance and operations, we have no and yes, and in CDS we have false and true. Those application in CDS, they do not understand what is no, what is yes. So we have to define this transformation. It's a very easy way. You just choose your field, you choose the direction here, bi-directional. That dual write can be one direction and can also be a bi-directional. So you can choose by direction. You can say, okay, I just want to copy from data from finance and operation to CDS, or you want to copy data from CDS to finance and operation. You can choose any direction, sync direction here. These are the different directions and symbols. This screenshot is taken from Microsoft Docs article. More detail can be read from there, but this is just an overview. These are the different type of symbols or different type of sync directions you can define here. You can define all your transformation using your JSON format if you want to. Then we have a filtration option here. From finance and operations side, you can click onto this little funnel on here, this little pop-up window, this little window pop-up, and then you can define all your syntax. You can all define your all filters here. All the syntaxes are defined here. These are the same syntaxes which we used in expressions in query ranges in finance and operations. It uses the same syntax. Onto the CDS part of the entity mappings, you can just click onto the again little funnel here and define all these filters here, and all the syntaxes can be found from this particular link here. Now, whatever I have explained as of now, these were the this is one of the concept of infrastructure aspect of dual write. Now let's move. As I spoke earlier, finance and operations does have the concept of legal entities and companies. The closest concept of having these options into the customer engagement is the business unit. After I have linked the environment, all my business units are showing like this here. These are actually the legal entities or companies in finance and operation. As part of the initial setup of the dual write, it also creates all the teams in finance and operations. So you can see here ABC dual write and USMF dual write. This is the teams which gets created as part of the dual write solution. Now we have a data back into customer engagement. After we have the data, whatever the companies we have linked between finance and operation to CDS, how can I verify? This is the important step, and as an implementation partner, and I want to see what data is going from finance and operation to CDS to start with. So the first option, the first step, we always sync between both the environment are legal entities. So if you go to the CDS environment, C environment, and then choose funnel, choose your companies here, results, this is the companies you will see, you will start seeing, okay, I can see all the my companies are coming through. Another option, you can directly check directly from your Power Apps, go to the entities, go to the filter for your required entity and filter onto the data here. We also have a concept of organization hierarchy in finance and operations, how this is going to be synced across the environments. So this is the picture just to represent here. We have internal organizations sitting into the finance and operations here. This is how it is going to be copied across to the CE environment. Important concept which I wanted to mention here or specify here is about the legal entities to the CDM companies. There is a new data entity has been created in customer engagement as part of the dual right solution, which is called CDM company here. And the data between legal entities and CDMs move with the dual right solution. As you can see that the two arrow here. Now let's create an account into the CE environment. So you log into your customer engagement environment, you click onto the new here, and then you set, okay, I want to choose my company. This will happen once you have already sync all your legal entities from finance and operation to CE environment. You choose your company here, then you choose your account name. You just type in your account name, whatever you want to. Then you choose the relationship type. This is an important step also into the CE environment, because you are creating a customer, then you will be choosing a customer here. You can choose vendor, you can choose prospect, and so on. But in this example, we are creating a customer here. We choose a customer here. Customer group. Customer group is a mandatory field, must be provided to create a customer in finance and operations. Since this is an integrated environment, so I am choosing a customer group ID here. Customer group, the lookup which you are seeing here, this has already been synced from finance and operation to CDS. So all my customer group which exist into finance and operation also exist into CDS now. So this is why it is giving me a lookup here. Once I save this one, it creates an auto number here. This is the number sequence, which is the CE number sequence. CE will have its own number sequence. The moment you will save it, it's gonna create the same customer back into finance and operation. As you can see, the same customer group here, it is using this USM, the same legal entity, and the same customer and an account number which is being created as CE. So it will be using the number sequence coming from the CE environment. Also, being a technical lead or a developer, I would like to emphasize or share a couple of technical details about the dual right here. So what happens here, whenever you create the new entity maps here, everything gets stored into two tables into finance and operations. One is called dual right project configuration. As you can see here, all the features, all the entity mappings, you can search with internal entity name here, project groups, price, employees, legal entities. So these are the internal entity names which are from finance and operation side. So everything gets created into this table first. So when it gets created, the moment you start running the job first. So you have your entity maps, this table will be empty. The moment you will start running the job here, you run from here, and it will create an entry into the dual right project configuration table. Not only this table, there is another table which is called dual right project field configuration table. This is I really like this table personally. The reason why, I can actually choose all my field mappings here and external field lookups here. I can play around all the field mapping. I can verify my data looks right or not. I can actually choose copy this data. I can copy this data into my notepad plus plus, and I can also format this using the JSON format. As you can see over here, I can see all my field mapping sync direction one, which is bidirectional. What is the source field? What is the destination field? Is there any value transformation? Yes, if I have value transformation defined, I can look into around here. So it's a very handy way to look into all your mappings if you understand your JSON format. So these are the two highlighted fields which I have mentioned here. That how these two relations tables are related to each other: dual right project configuration and dual right project field configuration. This is that it actually relates using the project name here. Well, so as per my experience here, dual right, there are different ways to troubleshoot it. This is the query which I mostly use to find out how many records gets created for each entity map into this dual right project configuration. Make sure for each entity which you are trying to run is should have two records. One record is for create and update, and the second record is for delete. So make sure you always have two occurrences for each legal entity if you are using that entity for one mapping. Then there is a table called dual right error log table. It also holds if there is any error happens along with the CDS payload, it actually stored into this table. So you can look into this dual right error log table also. Now, a couple of very important aspects of the dual right feature here: environment details and the integration keys. If you see if you click onto the environment details, it gives you all these three diagrams here. It actually shows you what is the environment between this dual right is linked between both the environments. What are the legal entities? You can actually delete the legal entity even after the environments are linked, and you can add the legal entity. So the moment you will do so, it takes a little bit of a time to reconfigure all the environments and adding all the required data from finance and operation to the CDS environment. So the integration key, this is a concept uh, driving from customer engagement. So you can see here, I have chosen an account entity here. This is the keys, and the primary key is account, entity key is the account number and the company. And this is the once you install this one, you configure the account and customer integration between in the environment. This integration key will automatically will come from CE to FNO into the dual right. You can also define all your alert settings if you want to. You can think of like I want to stop the particular job if it fails certain number of times. Then you can apply your solution here. This is the way you once you link your environment, you can always apply the solution. This is the solution which we initially installed into Power Platform. So this is the same solution we have applied into the environment. Now, let's quickly, first, I will just go through the implementation consideration, then I'll just quickly show you how the environment looks like if I get some time left. So, important aspect is about the implementation consideration. So there has to be only one-to-one link environment between finance and operation and CDS instance. These two environments have to be onto the same tenants. These cannot be onto the different tenants, have to be onto the same tenants. So try to host your finance and operations and CDNs into the same Azure region. This will actually reduce the latency. Don't consider dual right is your data migration tool from finance and operation to CDS. It's not like this. Minimize your data volume, maybe thousands or 10 of thousands. Don't think like I'm gonna just copy all my customers, maybe 100,000 customers from finance and operation to CDS environments. It's not gonna work. So you have to chunk your data, think about it, and implement the solution properly, and implement the solution as the way it is designed for. If you have already if you have already your CDS environment, in most of the cases customer does have all your customer engagement data environment up and running, and you want to implement the dual write, you have to run this bootstrap data with company information. This is the .NET code which you have to run, and it does, it actually bootstrap your data and make it ready for the dual write. uh, because in without having the dual write, there is no company, there is no business units, there are no teams installed into your environments, so these have to be installed, and this particular tool actually does all these things for you. uh, so there is a migration plan to move from data integrator to dual write. Microsoft is still working on it, so few features are in preview which are about the prospect to cache solution with dual write. So keep eye on to the Microsoft upcoming webinars and preview features. Microsoft is still working on to these features. Number sequences, as we have seen, these are the two different environments using their own number sequences. Uh, Cross company, which we have already discussed, the cross company, we cannot use the cross company data sharings. Uh, Last thing here, once you have your environment, you have all the data entity mappings up and running, you can use ALM feature of the dual write. So dual write is a solution awareness feature. You will have all your mappings, you can export that solution and through Power Platform, and you can import into any other environment. You can publish that solution to your app source and later on let user to use that solution. So it's a completely solution based, easy to copy from another environment. Licensing, very important topic here is about the licensing. You do not need to have a separate license to use dual write. If you buy the finance and operations, the dual write solution will automatically will come as part of the finance and operations license here. But if you want to use that finance and operations data into CDS, you have to have a different app here, which is a customer engagement application, including sales, servicing, marketing. These for to use that finance and operation data back into in these applications, you have to purchase these apps separately. So more detail is described onto this particular link here. So but you do not need to have a separate license for dual write. That's a thing. There are a couple of resources here. We have the dual write homepage. You can follow this blog post from Microsoft Docs article, very detailed, very useful. If you still have any question, you can read all the questions on my blog, and you can also follow my blog, which I'm still writing onto the implementation with the dual write and still in progress. Then also there is an application lifecycle management process for the dual write, and dual write do follow dual write Yammer group, very useful. You can keep eye on to the all upcoming features also. This is uh, uh, these are the links to download all the app source documentation. So this is my dual write sitting over here, as you have already seen here. This is my customer engagement environment here. So account receivable, my customers over here. I'm just going to duplicate this tab to show you what does it, how does it looks like dual write mappings here into the real environment. If you click onto the dual write here, while this is opening, I'm just switching between my different apps here. That's how it looks like. If you search for the customers here, and this is my customer sitting over here, this is my account sitting over here. And now if I will create a quick customer here, Dynamics Go, I'm saying my Dynamics Go over here, and I have to define my group here. Sorry, it's a wrong spelling. Use the right. So since the integration is running, I'm just switching, letting it to create. The moment it's creating here, I'm just quickly going to my table level here. Even I can switch to my accounts here. It's created, finished, and then I'm just going to my all accounts, and I'm saying searching for my DynamicsCon here. This is the honor here, USMF dual right. This is the team which gets created, and you can define all your security based on to this particular user here. This is really helpful in implementing your security, your user security from CE point of view. So now we have everything here. I go here and I choose excuse me, different customer group here. I save this one, so it's saved. Now if I go back here, I just refresh this one, it's changed to customer group 20, which I have changed into my customer engagement environment. Now last thing which I just quickly wanted to show you, once you have this data sitting into your uh, this is into your environment here, you can go back to your data, you can choose your entities here. So this is your account entity, and this is your data sitting over here. So now you can see you have all the data. This is a different environment. I'm just showing you just an example. Once you have all the accounts sitting over here, you can think of anything here. You can export this data to your data lake, your custom data lake, your customer data lake. You can create your power portals on top of that data. One of the example which I really like about having this data here, not every user has to be logged into the finance and operation anymore. If you really want to give an option just to create an employee record or just to see your employment history, you can just create entities between finance and operations and CDS environment using dual right. Get your data here, use your customer portal, and then use your power apps, your portal here, and then give them options to change the data, update, modify data, let's say create new employees from directly from your portal. Yep, so that's all from my side for today. Thank you so much, uh, again, DynamicsCon, for choosing me and giving me this opportunity to showcase all my skills here and the dual right skills. And I would really like to thanks about I would really thanks to my voters who have chosen me and voted for my session. Thank you so much.